No, never mind. Dude, one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me riding a motorcycle, it's only happened once, is I was in that general vicinity, and like there's a car in the carpool lane, I was in the lane next to it. I'm riding, right? Pull up, there's two girls in the car, right? And they both look at me, and then like the chick in the passenger seat like goes like, hey, waves to me, and then shows me her boobs, right? Would have been awesome if, of course, the fucking 91 is all like fucking wonky and shit. So I'm like, huh?
It becomes that channel that you used to watch as a teenager. You can't see anything.
I was like, I couldn't even see anything. Wait. And this is when I had the Harley too, so there's always extra vibration.
It's even worse.
So I couldn't even see what was going on in that car. I just knew that it happened. I was like, I hope those were cool.
Walking Blind is hosted by overly emotional dudes who overthink and overanalyze everything. Nothing the hosts say should be taken as medical advice or opinion. They're not professionals. They're about to make that very clear.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Walking Blind podcast. This is episode 92 of the show where we like to normalize checking in on the homies. I'm Mike. The other Mike is on tour, but we'll be back soon. That being said, this week we have a special guest. Now, this is one of my best friends in the world. This is my fucking brother. And we finally get to sit down and kind of talk about all this shit that's been going on that has been kind of like just kind of hush and been kind of quiet about
In the background.
just because, you know, we wanted to make sure that you were getting through everything. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dallas Kasad.
How's it going?
So first things first, how does it feel to be a seaman?
Little wet and slimy.
In the Navy.
It meant something a lot, it meant something back then, but, it's kind of like, all right, cool. Can I almost I washing my hands of it, but I still, there's a few moments in there.
You leaving and walking away, does it leave like a bad taste in your mouth, or do you feel like, okay, I'm I didn't mean it that way.
Does being a seaman leave a bad taste in my mouth?
Does being a seaman and no longer being a seaman leave a bad taste in your mouth? You know, is it salty or is it sweet? I mean, how do you feel?
Let's see. I'd have to say it's kind of bittersweet. It's to see and to talk to people, like especially like my senior leadership and stuff like that, and past people that have gotten out. They're like, this isn't what I joined.
Right.
And so that kind of put, it put fuel to the fire of just kind of, it's not just me. You always have that feeling of maybe it's me, maybe I'm not adapting, maybe this is my fault, I'm not strong enough. But then you see people around you that are just kind of like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, even, I mean, from the outside perspective looking in, even, your wife is also in the Navy, and with her
that's awkward.
deployment,
She's a seaman, yeah.
she's a seaman too. But like with her last deployment, like conditions were just fucking rough.
Well, I mean, we were still in COVID then.
Yeah, and so just looking into even just aspects of that nature. We don't have to go too in-depth into it. Just, like plain and simple, like our soldiers, our military, our seamen, everything like are not taken care of. They're not properly cared for.
There's not going to be a serious moment this entire episode.
We're going to try our best. But, one of the things that I really wanted it, and then we saved you kind of for last and on these guest episodes, is because of the timing of everything, right? Mm-hmm. So you've been in for how long at this point?
Let's see. I joined. It was the early fall of 2017, so not as long as some of the old salts, as they say.
Right. But in that time, and when you joined, it was really one of those like, I have to do this for my family, for my kid. I have to do this because I need to change things. Like I need life to change, basically, you know?
Definitely. It was, it was one of those things. I was going through a divorce, I needed, I didn't have any direction in my life. And, yeah, it always played in the back of my mind. Like growing up, like coming out of high school, I was going to join, and then I ended up joining, and then went to trade school. And then I'm like, oh, this sounds like cool. This sounds cool. Let me go do that.
Yeah.
Didn't end up doing it. Then finally it was that push that was like,
Well, then you toured with us too.
yeah.
You know, for those of you guys that don't know, Dallas was actually on the first ever Creative Void tour with us, and came out, like hung out, ran merch for us. We all learned some awesome secrets about Dallas at that point. You know what I mean? You know, it was cool because, you know, you came on already being like our friend, you know, you came on already being like part of the family essentially. And I feel like all of us just got way closer after that tour. I laid next to you naked and you almost punched me in the dick one night. You know, that type of thing.
There's more to that story, but
there's a lot more to that story. We won't dive into it.
Yeah.
Just know I hadn't showered for 3 days and Dallas was feeling sick.
Yes.
But you know, seeing like going from, you know, going to trade school, you actually went to like a few different trade schools because you're EMT, right?
That's right. I forgot about that one actually. Yikes.
So Dallas was an EMT, then went to you were working like in was it like sandblasting and like industrial painting shit
yeah.
like that? Yeah. So like kind of like jack of all trades, like auto body work. You've done it all.
Auto body mechanic, warehousing, industrial painting. I was nationally registered as an EMT, everything, and then it just still nothing was catching.
Yeah, and so to kind of like, you know, as a change of pace, I still remember having the conversation with you about like, you know, like, hey, I'm gonna enlist, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking like, well, fuck, like, all of us were kind of like, shit, like, really, do you want to do this? Like, are you sure? Or, like, are you positive? You know, and like doing like the homie thing where we're trying to talk you out of it because we're worried, but also kind of knowing in the back of our heads that like, well, he knew
what was going on.
Yeah. I knew your situation and I knew why you were doing it, and I knew that it was kind of right at that point where it was like, I either do it now or I never get to do it, right? And coming from like a Navy family, you know, even your dad, like, even though he if we can talk about it, like, he probably would have never outright said it, like, he was proud of you for that decision, you know what I mean? So like it was like this, it was like one of those things where we're like, fuck, like, we don't want to see you go, but I know you have to do this, right? Like, I know you have to do this for you, I know you have to do this for your situation, for everything going on. And when you left and you went to Norfolk, like, you were in it, like, you were in it fully, like, yeah, this was...
Nobody understood a text message I sent to him. It was incredible.
Yeah. It was kind of a wild time.
Yeah.
But do you feel like in that time frame, like, how do you feel like the Navy changed?
Well, that's a big pill to swallow.
It's kind of a loaded question too, because there's a lot to unpack there.
There is, but on the surface, everybody joined the Navy at one point to see the world.
Yeah.
And there's the big joke that, you know,
to see the world. You get it?
Yeah, that. Shut up, Mike. But they would say, oh, well, the world's 90% ocean. It's like, okay, cool. Got it. Thanks for that. Right. But like you're seeing it across the board. A lot of countries don't want the carriers to come to port because there's too many issues that happen. We had COVID. We had ships that were going out and they would not see anything besides the pier, basically, that the ship would dock at for 9-12 months. And all they had was gray walls, you know, stairs that you know, some people, you know, fell down. And some people just kind of drop because they want to get off the ship so bad, but
right.
And it's very much you live at work. You can't get away from work, and that's like the big issue that you see in civilian life. Leave work at work, right? Especially COVID times. It was everybody had work at home,
Right.
and it was put out. It became a bigger issue where keep work separate from the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're going to go insane.
Right.
And with COVID going on, there's still flare-ups. We don't hear it all the time, but there's still flare-ups, and it just causes quarantines across the board, and you cannot leave that lifestyle ever. And so, it's no longer, you get to see all the different cool parts of the world, like, stopping in Japan. I was thankful just for when my wife was on her last deployment. She got to stop in Guam. Pretty cool. Not a lot there, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then she got to stop in Japan, but they were quarantined to the base only. And that was if they had, and it was mandatory vaccine, and you had to have both boosters at that point.
Yeah. But they also, to be fair, inoculated you guys up with all kinds of jazz, probably. So
My arms and my butt cheek hurt so much that first week.
yeah. Yeah. And then you got shots. It was crazy.
You walked into that one, but
Just backed into that one.
Backwards through a cornfield.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. This is when we get together, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah. So yeah, during that time, everybody is and you guys were like first in line to get vaccinations. You guys first in line to get all that shit. So that was like a huge and it's almost like, well, we don't know what's gonna happen with this, but here we go.
We were the guinea pigs.
Yeah. Here we go.
You saw, they basically forced us at one point. Like, they said it was optional originally, but if you didn't get it, you could not leave the ship when you pulled into port.
Right. They kind of made it like a, you don't have to get it.
It's
but,
optional,
Yeah.
but
There's really no other choice if you don't get it.
yeah,
type deal.
exactly. But it was funny because we're all sitting there, all the chairs are spaced 6 feet apart, and we're just waiting in line, and then we have, it's basically just cattle shots. They line 5 people up, boom, 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 boom. All right, go next 5, and they knock out probably 1,500 people in the span of like 2 hours.
Jesus.
And but if you didn't get the shot, it eventually became mandatory,
Right.
and people were actually getting kicked out for not getting the vaccine.
Really?
Yeah.
Like dishonorably discharged?
No, not dishonorable, because there's a few. There's honorable, there's dishonorable, there's general, there's admin separations.
Would that be considered
that.
like medical, like a medical separation, or would it be?
It's. I think it either falls under. I don't want to say it and be wrong. Just
Yeah.
blow up in the comments.
So it's
like-
not dishonorable though, right?
it's-
It's just basically some sort of other.
It takes a lot to get dishonorable.
Right.
And it's a lot more paperwork, which is the reason why at least in the Navy side, you don't see it very often, unless you got somebody that's just, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I mean, I would imagine that it's, especially when you have that much paperwork, it's tough because all the papers get soaked, so you just have to.
Yeah.
that was a stupid joke.
I mean, and they're above the water. It's crazy,
That was
All I need is a reaction out of Jesse.
the one souvenir that I pulled from the Navy, they have these notepads. They're called Never Wet notepads, and I thought that was funny because the paper never gets wet. You can still write on everything with a regular
What?
pen, but the paper never gets wet. And I'm like, this is a Navy ass thing. All right, I need this.
That sounds like something I need for like my diary when I'm just crying. I can just write.
Oh,
shit down.
okay. You're crying. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, all this semen talk,
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think it was like COVID that really shifted everything, or do you think it was just an overall? I mean,
Now, like I said, it was a loaded question. There's a lot. It's a tree with a lot of branches.
right.
And it's everything that comes to a head. My personal exit out was, basically experience was leaving. There was a time, and I'm sure somebody's going to say something about it, but there was a time.
Hold on, wait. Hold on, sorry. Because you and I are talking, and we kind of know the backstory here, but I guess let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about what you did in the Navy.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
So that we can kind of explain, for the people that don't know who you are, that are just, you're brand new here.
Yeah, I could be just basic, basic person in the Navy. So I was in aviation, rank of E5. I was a second class petty officer. Doesn't mean much, but it's what they call the fun part of the Navy, where you have enough responsibility that you can you carry your own, but you have less responsibility than the one that kind of gets the crap.
Right. Yeah.
And Barb's the one that gets the crap.
Yeah.
My wife outranks me. But we're I like to think, in at least naval aviation, we're the backbone.
Right.
We learn everything. I was aviation structural mechanics, so I worked on flight controls, hydraulic systems, stuff that makes primarily helicopters. I didn't work on anything. I didn't work on jets or anything like that.
Right.
But helicopters, painting them, metal work. It was a very intensive job. There was a lot of days that I went home just covered in hydraulic fluid with a smile on my face because it worked.
That's what you enjoyed.
I made it work.
Yeah. And to put that into perspective, those are the things that you like doing, like on a broader scale. Like I enjoy working on vehicles, or I enjoy like fixing shit, or like finding the problems and making things work. So like this was ideally like a dream job, right?
Right. Yeah. It was, in my opinion, it's still the best job in the Navy.
Yeah.
We don't get the spotlight all the time. That's fine. Every person that I met that had my job, a few bad eggs, but that's going to be anywhere.
Right.
But every person that I met was a strong worker and a good person.
Right.
And it was always, we work hard throughout the week. Friday, Saturday comes around. Unless you're on sentry duty, we're going to go party. We're going to go do this. We're a group. We're a team.
Yeah.
And I love that camaraderie. That dynamic was great.
I got to experience one or two of those nights with the team, and that was interessante to say the least. But
you think people are alcoholics, and then you go to one of these events, you're like, whoa, okay.
I can handle my own pretty well when it comes to liquor and drinking, and I was like, boys, I'm gonna be under the table tonight. Like, there's no there's no question here. But
yeah, it was the part that I still love is the camaraderie. Like I still have friends that I hang out with in San Diego that are still they're still trucking, and we'll throw names around and we still know people. It's big, but it's tiny. Like they say, it's like 2% of the population.
Yeah.
But you still, like, somebody knows somebody that you know.
Right.
So.
And at what point was it that you kind of started to feel like, hey, this is no longer fulfilling for me? Like, this is starting to be more stress than it is, like, a love for what you're doing.
So, in my particular position, I was fully qualified. I could do anything within my job title. And I was the go-to guy. I loved being the go-to guy. I'd have, higher ranking people coming to me with questions like, hey, it's doing this, this, and this. How do we fix it?
Right.
And then I could dig in. I could figure out the answer. And I loved being able to solve the problem that a lot of people were having.
Yeah.
What happened was, once I got to that point of being able to do anything, all the people that had been there who had been teaching me, they all moved on.
Right.
But the problem then became I was the only one that could handle, 5 or 6 people jobs.
Right.
And I had a shop full of brand new sailors.
Right.
That I'd have to train up. But mind you, if I'm training them, I still have work that I have to do.
Yeah.
And so it becomes, training new sailors, don't know anything, while still handling the workload of 5 or 6 people that are my level.
Right.
And it just became, the day to day, it became overwhelming.
Yeah.
I went a good month of, what's going to go wrong today. I felt like my day to day was just playing damage control.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good group of, lazy, we'll call them, new guys
Right.
and gals. And it grew to a head. And, I had one big project going on. I had to handle aviation. We always have flight schedule. We're always flying. We're always doing all this stuff. And I was the only one that could do both of these things, and there was nobody else.
Right.
And then I had to we have administrative stuff on the back end. And all this was slowly piling on my shoulders. And eventually I just snapped.
Yeah.
Like it hit a point, yeah.
And when you say you snapped, like you had a legitimate like mental just breakdown.
Oh yeah. I came home that night, and I'd been dealing with this. Let's see. My wife she was on deployment until the beginning of that year.
Mm-hmm.
She had been home for maybe a month at that point.
Yeah.
And she watched me day to day because I believe she still is, but she was trained as a suicide prevention in the Navy.
Right.
And so she knows what the signs are and everything. And she was watching me day to day, and she's like, you really need to talk to somebody. And so for that whole, I'd say about 2 months at that point, I had my lead out there trying to figure out how I can talk to somebody.
Right.
And I wasn't getting the time of day. Like they say that there's all these programs that we have that are given to us that we can access. What they don't tell you is that the waiting list for these programs are 3 or 4 months out.
Yeah.
And so you talk to somebody, you say, hey, I'm having a really hard time here. And they said, okay, like it's what, September? They say, okay, well, we can get you an appointment in January for mental health.
That's not something that you can just wait.
Yeah.
And like, okay, yeah, I'll be cool for the next few months.
I'll figure it out for however many months it is. And so I snapped.
Yeah.
The rubber band finally snapped. And my wife looked at me. She's like, nope, we're going.
Yeah.
We'll pack a bag. You're getting in the car. Went to the Naval Hospital and got admitted for 4 days to the psych ward.
Yeah, I remember, being at your house a lot prior to Barb coming home.
Mm-hmm.
It was easy because I was single at the time. Like pretty much when you were home, you were home. And so I would just drive out to San Diego and just come kick it for a while. And then when she came home, I kind of like, okay, cool. Like, you're not by yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And I remember like, I think I had tried to text you a couple times. I didn't hear anything from you. And then I get this text back, which was so casual and so nonchalant.
Oh yeah, by the way.
My bad, dog. I've just been on a psych hold for the last like 72 hours or something. I was like, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, just shit got bad. And that was kind of it. Like until we saw each other and we actually talked about it. But
right.
Like you just and I couldn't tell, because you have an Android. I couldn't tell if my messages were actually going through or not.
Here we go.
Because it was a green bubble. No, I'm just kidding.
Did you know that iPhones didn't save the world, but Androids did?
Hey man. Anyway, so
Android 17.
So when we talked,
Yeah.
we kind of got to talking about everything, and that's when you really told me everything that has been going on, and it was kind of like it's frustrating to be on the outside of it, right? Like it's frustrating to just know like, hey, this is like, like we've been through so much together at this point that like, you know, anything you need, I'm fucking there, right? And like the fact that like there's like, other than be there for you and listen to you, like as far as like getting that help that you need, like there wasn't really much I could do on my end, and that made like me feel helpless.
Right.
So I can only imagine like what it felt like being the one that needs the help, and they're like, yeah, just hang tight, we'll be with you in, you know, 3 to 4 business months.
Yeah.
You know, that's just seems so insane to me. Like I don't even.
But like I said, multiple branches, so there's a reason why that's pushed out so far, and it's just because it's not just a couple of people are experiencing it. Mm-hmm. The line is long.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why these appointments are so pushed out. So you can't blame the healthcare providers.
Yeah.
They're doing the best.
Yeah.
And just it's there's nobody to really point the blame at 100%.
Right. Well, there's so many loopholes and so many doors to go through that like everybody has this level of like, well, there's no accountability on our end, you know?
Yeah.
And at some point, like, well, I need a fucking answer. Like I need help. I need something, you know? And with that, essentially with the psych hold, was it like was Barb allowed to be there with you? Was it were you were just?
It was almost what you would expect. Like you watch Hollywood, you know, medical dramas and stuff like that. The psych ward is almost exactly what it is. You know, you get checked in, they take all your stuff.
Yeah.
You do the uncomfortable part. You strip down to make sure that you're not bringing anything into this place.
Yeah.
And then you wear, you know, your fabulous medical attire. And there was visiting hours. We had about an hour or two at dinner time. Mm-hmm. And Barb was there every night.
Yeah.
And one of my senior enlisted actually showed up to one, which blew me out of the water because it's almost unheard of this, you know, these days.
Right.
And that's sad for one, but
Yeah.
it was cool to see that. Like, I'll still like that guy had it out for me. He had my back.
Yeah. And you made enough of an impression for him to go,
Yeah.
you know, essentially out of his way to be there.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
He didn't have to.
Yeah. And I feel like it's little things like that make the biggest difference, the biggest impact, because when you get out, you know, you're like, that's my guy right there. That's,
Yeah.
you know. And so during that time, and you know, like I have a little bit of perspective because Karima worked in essentially a psych hospital for a while, and
Right.
you know, she would vent to me about like the stories,
The crazy stuff that
crazy, and
happens.
the treatment and things like that. But like, so what was the mindset and what was the mentality when you went through it and then you were released? Like,
I needed it.
yeah,
That's for sure. When I was there every day, I got seen by 7 or 8 doctors and at least 2 to 3 instructors that were just kind of there to like hear, you know, coping mechanisms, like developing
Right.
coping mechanisms, stuff like that, and understanding why it is you think the way you do.
do you feel like you came out of that with more knowledge that would help you for when you like have these potential breakdowns moving forward, or do you feel like
Definitely, like it was beneficial. I was able to get out, and it kind of forced the Navy's hand a little bit to like, hey, you need to see this doctor, and this doctor when you get out of here.
right?
And you can't leave here until you sign this paper saying that you're going to go do that. And because of that, it shortened my, 4-month window of what could go wrong to now next week you have an appointment. But it just sucks that it got to that point where I had to get admitted to the psych ward in order to be able to get to see the people that I need.
Yeah, like you have to hit that breaking point just to get the actual help you need in a timely manner.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, to me, it's fucking insane. Like,
it's like they see it and they're like, "Oh wait, we got a problem here. Let's handle this one real quick." Okay, now and they go back to just business as usual 4 months out. And it's like, why is that the issue?
yeah,
Like
Why does it have to come to like it wouldn't
Why
have
is-
come to this if I'd gotten the help I needed right away.
exactly.
Versus why do we wait until it's now it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like now it's a liability almost, like this could be bad for us, so let's take care of it. And then
Right. But I went into it. I know I needed it. And while I was there, I experienced a lot. You experience the dark side of the military is what I've just been known to call it. You find all these cases of people that they might have joined on the best intentions. They wanted to go out. They wanted to serve their country. They wanted schooling, whatever the case may be.
right.
Don't fault them for whatever they're still doing it, right?
Yeah.
But you see what that meant. There's no perfect system. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Right.
But we weren't really in a time of war at that point.
Right.
And you can kind of controversial it now, but back then we weren't in. It wasn't World War II. It was World War III, whatever you want to call it. It was a different time. It was we're just flexing our muscles a little bit, making sure the world stays friendly, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to. I got to see a lot of the bad side of that, and it kind of made me think, why are we here right now?
Right.
Like, why are these people here? Because we didn't only had mental health, but we had people that, there was a padded room, and if you couldn't settle down, you were in the padded room all night.
Jesus.
And it was full every night.
That's
And it was just kind of it was crazy to me because it's like, not to dig too much into it, but we had one guy that was just kind of, it was a mishap that happened on one of the ships, and it messed with his brain,
right.
and he was not fully he wasn't there. You could talk to him, but he was not there.
Yeah. He was somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere completely different than in the moment.
And it was one of those things like, why is it like this? Why are people suffering this bad? We should be just kind of coasting, making sure everything's maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, we're going around kind of flexing our muscles.
Right. As we do.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a completely different
Exactly.
conversation in
Yeah.
and of itself, but that it's one of those things where I've just kind of been, like on the sidelines watching this, like when you first enlisted and you went through like basic and came out of that, you were like,
That was different.
you were different. Like you're still the same guy, but like you can tell that you've been through some shit, right? Like you and I remember you getting out of basic training. Like I remember, like we surprised your mom, like we arranged this whole thing.
I watched the video of that the other day, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and shout out to mom.
Love you, Mom.
But like it's just that like when and I know that like they kind of say this a lot, like you go in and you're like there's this like life in you, like there's this like yeah I'm here to do this and I'm fucking stoked, and then like you see it's like those pictures like of before and after war, like I'm not saying that you went to war, but like just that you can tell that like it's drained.
I already didn't have a soul because I'm ginger, but you could tell you could tell the soul kind of got sucked out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe not sucked out, but it was more disciplined. Whatever was there.
Right. And that's like, part of it is like I'm glad that like you've still held on to like your sense of humor, like you've still held on to a lot of like the aspects that like made you know what I mean? But at the same time I can tell that it was like shit was kind of fucked up and like shit just really messed with your head, in a way that it's like there's no taking that back. There's no like rewinding it, So in that case and in that scenario, like what do you do to move forward? You know, like now we kind of talked about this. So like officially, like as of midnight tonight, you're done.
Done.
You're
out.
you're out.
I've been on terminal the past 20 days.
Yeah.
And so it's just my free vacation days. They say, hey, use them now. You ain't gonna be able to take them anywhere.
Yeah. So you know, like today we're recording this podcast. It drops on Friday. So by the time this comes out, you're out, right?
Back on the other side of the fence.
You're a civilian again.
Yeah.
But like what's the
Finally dry off.
just shake like a wet dog. Hang up my wetsuit and my flippers. Now I'm just picturing Scuba Steve in my head. But what's the mentality moving forward? Like what's the I know that there's no set plan, but like what's the, you know, is it school? Is it to take time to just kind of recoup and figure shit out, or is this a day by day thing?
Well, I'll say based on the past 5-ish days that when it, you know, in at least my case, the last day of service is supposed to be just like, okay, I'm good. Mm-hmm. Take a breath. It's not there yet.
Yeah.
I just kind of like getting broadsided, you know, all of a sudden, hey, you need to do this paperwork, or sorry, SOL. And it's kind of like, wait, what happened, you know, last month when I asked you about this?
Yeah. Well, so you're supposed to be doing paperwork right now?
I mean, yeah. I'll get it done tonight, but you know, once I hit that point of like, okay, the pieces are in, everything's set, and take maybe a week because I can't stop. You know, if I stop working for more than a week, I lose my mind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, take some time, take a deep breath, and then I'm going to be trying to go to college down in San Diego.
Okay.
Trying to pursue through hopefully UCSD, but it's very competitive for what I'm going for. But I'm going to look at the community colleges in the area, try to transfer there, and then who knows?
And at one point in time, I know you were doing like coding, like computer stuff.
Yeah.
Are you still pursuing that? Is that still the path that you want to go down, or
that's one of the hurdles I have to figure out, because if it works as planned, I'll be transferring to UCSD as a senior, which is difficult because that you need to make sure that all the classes you've taken
translate towards your degree.
Well, it translates at the new college, because the new college might think, oh no, that's useless. Why do you have that?
Yeah.
And so I might have to swallow a few courses, but I'm 8 classes out. I'm right there. I just need to. Yeah.
That wasn't me. That was him.
You had a look on your face.
I couldn't help it because he went. Yeah, so you might have to forego a few credits for the classes that you've taken.
Swallow a few classes, Mike. Yeah, I'm gonna have to forego a few, and then
We're just children.
Yeah. So hopefully the school thing, it's one of the benefits, you know, that's nice to have.
Yeah.
Where I could just, hey, thank you for your service. Go to school. Right. Okay, cool. I'll do that. Other than that, it's really just, you know, kind of get my name out there. Trying to, you know, find what sector really fits for me. Because, you know, it's programming, which is a very broad kind of thing. It's like,
right.
Well, there's video games, there's Google, there's applications, there's, you know, there's a branch of cybersecurity. So it's just finding where I'm going to fit.
Yeah. Any plans to go back into like fabrication and you know, or is that just going to be like I'm fucking done here?
Are you trying to start a garage again?
I mean, you know, we've had the idea for years now, but
I would love to. I still love it. Like, I love metalworking. I love fiberglass. Painting. The Navy kind of killed that for me, because after you've
Yeah.
You're sitting there for 8 hours, just respirator and shooting paint. You're like, I don't do this anymore.
Oh, you mean sanding down an El Camino in the Norco driveway didn't kill that for you either?
No, because I was doing my buddy.
It's a little backstory on that. Dallas and I, when we were
Shout out
both
Jay Round.
Yeah, when we were both like unemployed and kind of broke, Jake, Pure Noise, basically we went and prepped his El Camino for paint. So me and Dallas,
The first paint job, he got it repainted.
yeah, he got it redone. It looks way better now.
It looks a lot better
so
now.
sick now.
We can't take credit for that
Yeah,
one
we
at all.
can't take credit at all. But that, at first when he was like, hey, I have this idea, I want to restore this car, which was, I believe, a gift from his dad.
Yes.
Right. So me and Dallas went over there and we sanded that bitch to the bare metal. Like we stripped all of it. Like we pulled all the chrome panels off and just stripped all the old paint, all the old primer, everything, and then reprimered it.
I remember we went to the junkyard and got a brand new hood because it was rusted
Yeah.
out. And I didn't have any tie-down straps.
Yeah.
So we used an extension cord that I had in the car. And we just kind of like, yeah,
And then
that
we
should get
looped
home.
and just held on to it for
Yeah.
dear life on the top of the Xterra. Was it the Xterra?
No, that was the Highlander.
Okay.
It was the SUV.
Okay,
Or the SUV.
yeah. So and the hood came off of like an old Malibu or something like that we found.
Something like that, yeah.
At Pick Apart, but the years matched, so the hood fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we put in some work on that Elko. We had to.
We'll
yeah.
take credit for that hood.
We'll take credit for the hood because that was a solid ass hood. I was shook that we actually found something that nice.
Oh,
in,
yeah.
in Pick
Sitting in a
Apart.
junkyard on
Yeah.
an old car.
Yeah, but that was that was a fun time.
It was.
So, yeah, maybe one day we'll get our little shop going. Have some cool little projects. Mm-hmm. I still feel like it would have to be a shop that we just get to do fun stuff out of. I wouldn't want to do it as like a everyday, like we're fixing people's cars to,
Yeah.
to make the rent. on the
We're
place.
knocking out oil changes,
Yeah.
changing tires. Like, no, it's gonna be like something. I mean, it might be cliche or whatever the word is, but like Hoonigan, like
Yeah.
you watch what they do and they just do goofy stuff.
Yeah.
They have fun doing it. It's like, yeah, that'd be cool to do.
Yeah, you want to build the fucking Rover from Halo? We got you.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna build a Warthog, like that
Yeah.
kind of shit. Obviously, that takes money, so something we don't have. But maybe one day.
Yeah. That's the dream. We're gonna be like the old timers that are just kind of like the hot rod shop, still pinstriping flames on the side of it, and
Fucking 78 with arthritis. I finally got my shop.
oh, here we go, living a dream, living a dream.
Hold my arm. Hold my arm. So yeah. So and I know, like that's it, the next steps are kind of like it's really like an open door right now for you. Like we kind of mentioned in the beginning, it's like a fresh start. And you get a chance to kind of like not necessarily like reinvent yourself, but this is an opportunity for you to be like, all right, cool. Like now what do I want to do?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Which is fucking sick, man. Like I feel like that's like the dream for everybody.
Yeah, it's just trying to figure it out. Just we all kind of have this subconscious love for LA. So in my head, I'm like, I want to move, a little bit further north. And my wife's like, no, I don't want to live in California. And I'm like, okay, well,
She wants to go back to good old Florida, huh?
not anymore. That's kind of another story later on.
I could see you as a Florida man. I could see you in all those articles. Florida man wrestles gator and rides his motorcycle into the swamp.
Yeah, and sitting there like swinging a rattlesnake by its tail.
I could see it. Oh man, I don't know if they have rattlesnakes in Florida though.
I don't know, but I was watching a video the other day of I think you sent it to me actually, of all the rattlesnakes. Like this dude had like 20
Yeah,
rattlesnakes.
they're like 20 in the garage. I was like,
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I could do that. That looks like fun. I'd do that. And I'm just like,
no.
where am I right now? What is going on?
Why am I
Whoa.
considering this?
What is in my Coke?
Dude, I was like watching this video. This is totally a tangent, but it's 20 rattlesnakes in a garage.
Yeah.
This guy just had a whole bunch of clutter in there. there were
Like hoarder status.
5 adult rattlesnakes and 15 babies. Right? So,
Which is nuts because my wife and I, we do ball python breeding.
right. You guys have snakes.
Not snakes.
I'm a snake.
And you know, to see what the clutches, the eggs that get laid, the process of that, and how many we've had. Like, I think half of the eggs we've had have died.
Right.
Like they just didn't make it through the whole period.
And that's normal. Like, right? That's pretty...
I think it's normal. I'm still learning all the genetics and stuff.
Yeah.
I maintain she does the genetics, so...
You guys have some pretty... you guys have some pretty wild-ass snakes.
A few. I mean, anybody who knows ball pythons, stuff like that, they'll tell you they like big puppy dogs.
Yeah.
But I know
Yeah.
that there's a thing, like, there's people that hate spiders, there's people that hate snakes.
I'm okay with snakes.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I could wake up next to a snake that's like just...
We're not sleeping with him, Mike.
I'm just saying, like, you know, like Dallas will post pictures. He's holding on. Stop it, Jesse. Dallas will post pictures. He's like holding on to this snake. Oh man, Dallas will take these pictures. Or he's holding on to a python, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, and he's just
You
like,
can't post that content on Instagram, so...
what?
Keep going.
Anyway, so like, and I'm just picturing you just like sitting there, like falling asleep, holding on to the snake.
It's happened.
This is weird. This is off the
This
rails
is
here.
weird.
Go to the one shot. Go to the one shot real quick. I do not condone any of Jesse's behavior.
Just cut out the last 15 minutes.
But no, like I just like you know, the idea of just like, okay, cool, like we're just gonna hang out, and then like for me, like you fall asleep, you wake up, there's a fucking python in your house.
Yeah.
Have you had any of them escape?
So, okay, that's a good story. So, when we first... Okay, so I had moved here first, and then my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was still in Virginia.
Right.
And she was waiting to get orders. She had like a year difference. She was waiting to get orders to San Diego.
Right.
And so she got orders, moved out to San Diego, but she saw that where she was going, she had a deployment coming up.
Right.
And so we had a friend in Las Vegas hold, at the time, I think we're at about 10 or 15 snakes.
Then?
Then.
Okay.
And so we had him hold those. He's a phenomenal breeder out in Los Angeles.
Las
Vegas. And, you know, really good guy. Cool place. Previous military as well.
Okay.
And so it kind of fit. And so he watched, we paid for food because, you know, snakes eat rats.
Right.
Rats can get expensive over time. And so wife went on deployment. She comes back. Then we went to Las Vegas. And I already missed the spot that I was going for. So when we were moving her from Virginia, we had to go to Las Vegas first to drop the snakes
them
off.
off.
Yeah.
Right.
We went down from Norfolk, Virginia to the Panhandle of Florida. Mm-hmm. Panhandle? I think it's Panhandle, whatever it is. That little skinny spot by Pensacola.
Yeah.
Because she had to renew something on her license, and Florida's weird about that.
And her family is in Florida.
Yeah. Then we stopped at New Orleans for the night.
Sick.
Figured now's the time, good a time as any. Let's hang out in New Orleans for the night. It sucked. It was still COVID times, so a lot of New Orleans was just devastated. There was nothing going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the bands you saw outside in the gazebo cover, the old South, you know, those good bands, you sit there and you just have lunch and listen to them. they had just screens of plastic around them, and it just didn't. The feel was off.
Yeah.
But we stayed there at a pet hotel, or pet accepting hotel, and we had the snakes sitting on the desk. And mind you, they're in a bag. It's a drawstring bag. It's doubled over. It's tied, doubled over, and they're sitting in Tupperware with holes put in them and stuff like that. And the end of the bag is out of the Tupperware. So it's pretty solid. They're not going to get out of that easily.
Right.
But still, we put like our keys on top of it and everything. So if anything happens,
You would know.
you're going to hear it. I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and our main snake, Odin, he, like, our dog's freaking out about something, like, go to bed, buddy, the keys fall. And we're like, what's going on? Odin was the one that we turned the light on, and this dude stretched out of his sack out of the container, and he kind of freezes like, I'm caught. And it was just the one time we've ever had an escapee. And it was a snake called Odin, of all names.
That's not okay. It's not okay.
I've never been. See, that's the thing. I've never been bitten by that one.
To be fair, none of them are poisonous. So, it's like, it is what it is. But
It hurts. I got bit by Loki, and he took out some of the movement in my hand. So it's completely derailed. Let's just get this train back on the tracks.
yeah, let's yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was doing things backward on this episode because I wanted to talk about all that before we checked your mental health, and the state of your mental health, because I want people to know the story. But that being said, let's jump into the mental health check. I don't know if Mike has videos from this week. If they do, they'll be here. If not, mental health check is where we, check in and basically see any highs, lows, wins, whatever that is, and then how you're coping, anything that you've maybe learned or anything that you've applied to help you deal with those moments and some of the things that you've come across. How's your mental health going?
Mental health. Let's see. The past few days, massive amounts of stress.
Yeah.
Just making sure, there's timelines, all the puzzle pieces fit. It's, I could say that, but on the flip side, there's not a lot for me to do right now. Just kind of fixing up the house where it needs to be. I have time to do that now. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of relaxing and get my mind off of the admin side of what's going on. And because of that, I'm not in a bad spot. I'm feeling good, just kind of taking each day as need be. Mm-hmm. When I get mad, because there's still trips back and forth to naval base, stuff like that. I'm blasting like punk rock, like anti-authority, like I'm so mad at this, and just get it out. Like your car is the best spot to really just kind of stretch out, where your head's at.
Right.
And so that's been kind of my go-to, a lot of just bringing back the classics, a little bit of old school punk stuff. We're talking like leather jackets, studded belts, mohawks, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
And so I'm doing good. I'm in a good spot.
Good, man. That's good. For me, I feel like this week has just been kind of going through the motions. If it just, trying to stay home, save some money, and just trying to just kind of reset everything, trying to get back on track. Elliot started daycare, which was
That's a big one.
it's huge, and it's wild because like this morning. So last week was his first like official week. This morning, it being Monday when we record, Karima took him to take care, and she comes back, and I'm getting ready to leave for work, and I was like, "You okay?" And she's like, "He was just like, all right, later, Mom."
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
it is.
So he's adapted to pretty much that school schedule, which is great. because I think it's really good for him to socialize, and
Oh yeah.
he's talking so much more. He's so much more expressive. He's
Just walking through the living room, it was just like he was talking about monster trucks,
Yeah.
fast cars, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I got you, bud. Yeah, oh, I love fast cars. I love monster trucks, and it was just kind of like, all right, bud, I'll talk to you more about it later. And he was just like, nope, we're keeping this conversation.
Nah, dude. I've had so much I've wanted to say for so long. But yeah, so that's been good because you can tell it's kind of given like her kind of a break mentally as far as being able to kind of collect herself and work on other things instead of just constantly focusing on like his care throughout the day, right? And through that, with her being less stressed out, I'm less stressed out.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of, like I said, going through the motions and getting things like back in order. I've been purging a lot of like the gear and stuff in here. I went on a bender for a little bit, and now that I'm sober from the gear purchases, kind of just letting some things go that I'm not using, and kind of like really dialed into like the shit I enjoy playing. And of course that will only last for so long because
You can itch.
I still have a problem. But
There's meetings for that.
yeah, other than that, it's been, like I said, like it's just kind of, this week is nothing crazy, like just been going through the motions. Me and Jesse just like, we're on this like fitness thing. And so I've lost a pound a week since I started this, which is solid, but me and Jesse had a cheat meal on Friday. Was it Friday night that we went out? Like I hit up Jesse and I was like, I've just been working on my sprinklers at my house, dude. Like, let's go get barbecue. He's like right now? Like, yeah, like in like a half hour or whatever. So we went and we got like food at Smoke and Fire. We got a brisket burrito. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna cheat meal it up. I can only eat like half the burrito, dude. I was like, I can't even. And he was like, one taco, and he's like, I'm full. And I was like, dude, that's, yeah.
It switches it up. Definitely.
Yeah. So, seeing some progress there, it's kind of nice and interesting. But yeah, man, it like kind of uneventful, really, like just nose to the grindstone and work and the usual, which is like, there's something to say about like trying to make sure that you keep yourself like sane during those times, because I go stir crazy really fast.
Yeah.
And the monotony like kills me.
I mean, you also got to think about it too, because there's going to be a time when everything's going off and you're going to wish it was the time it is right now.
Yeah, it was now. Yeah. And I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at like, you and I think are kind of the same way in this, where like, if we sit still too long, we're like, I need to find something to do.
Otherwise, I'm going to get in trouble
Yeah.
with dumb stuff. Like,
Yeah, otherwise,
or both.
And it's even worse when we're together, because we're like, what do we do right now? Like, what are we, I know it's a little late in the show, but past history, like not only were Dallas and I friends, like we were roommates, and even like, we even played in a band called Declare Your War together way back in the day.
There's no history account that I was ever in that band, sadly.
I know, yeah, you don't see any of it, but you were there for like the formative years of that.
Yeah,
And like I've been in fights over Dallas. Jesse's been in fights over Dallas. I've been in fights over Dallas while he was throwing up. He was throwing up, and me and our buddy were fighting over Dallas. Me and Austin have fought over Dallas. So yeah, we've been, and then also I knew that Dallas was my ride or die because we almost got into a fight at Applebee's. So
Yeah.
like, there's just we got a lot of history here. So, but yeah, it's just the everyday, man. Like the everyday grind, can sometimes be taxing, but at the same time, it's like, it's good to have things continuously moving rather than sitting still.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Before we get out of here, we've been putting together the Walking Blind playlist, like one, kind of talking about the songs that we've been jamming. What do you want to add to the playlist for this week? What have you been listening to?
I've been a lot of thought in this question.
Okay.
I've listened to a podcast or two. I know, Mikey's got no effects covered, so we're gonna that was one of my go-tos.
Okay.
I could say Attila or Electric Callboy, you know, my typical ones right now. But
Yeah.
the song right now that has been my go-to that has kind of got me through the hard days is Scream Out from the Unseen. And that's like the perfect, like,
Nice.
if you're sick of it and, you know, you're pissed off at the way things are going, the way life is, that's the song you turn on and just let it out.
Yeah. Sick. All right, I'm gonna add it. For me, so, you know, you mentioned being on bass and like just blaring punk rock and shit like that. So I'm gonna go the anti-flag route, and I'm gonna go anti-flag, die for your government.
Oh,
Die for the
I
government.
was listening to that on way over here.
It was, you know, it's always between that and like, was it Broken Bones?
That one's my favorite. Broken Bones
yeah.
is my favorite anti-flag.
Probably my favorite anti-flag song too.
Like anti-flag's been on hard play on my phone.
Yeah.
You go to, you know, Alexa in the kitchen, I'll be sitting there cooking and I just play anti-flag and just it's been my go-to lately.
Hell yeah. It's sick. Sick. Well, dude, thank you for coming out and doing this. I hope we didn't get you in too much trouble. I'll cut the things that that we probably shouldn't say. You know, there's one or two, but
One or
you know. That being said, one, thank you for being here. It feels corny to say it, but thank you for your service. Like that's a real thing.
I'll take it the last time I'll take it.
Yeah. Is it though?
Thank you. No, it's appreciated. It's just none of us really know how to respond to that.
Right.
So
yeah. There's it's one of those like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and especially people probably say it so often when they find out.
It's like I'm going to the grocery store and I'm still in uniform. I'm like, thank you for your support. And I'm just like, I don't know what to say to you. I'm sorry. I'm appreciative, but
Like, how do you respond to that? Thank you for your service. You're welcome.
That sounds like a dick. So
Yeah,
I'm not
that
gonna
sounds
do
like an
that.
asshole thing to say.
And it's just like,
give him a 5 and a thumb, you know?
It's kind of like, you know, thank you for your support is like the best I think anybody's really come up with.
Yeah.
And it still feels kind of after school special.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But yeah,
we appreciate you.
I got you.
We appreciate you. For the rest of you guys listening, by the time that this episode comes out, the NBR, the Born Dead tour is done. There's a couple routing dates on the way home. You know, hopefully you guys were able to check out those dates. Hopefully you guys were able to also grab a card from the table at the NBR tour. We had our business cards and we had a resources card. So once again, those resources are within 30 miles of every venue that they played on this tour. And we leave those resources up on the website. It's basically a blog that has all that information. So even the past dates like that we did with, you know, back in October, you know, up like the Pacific Northwest, things like that, all of those resources stay on the site and we make sure that they stay there, you know, for an indefinite amount of time, so that those are always available. So make sure you guys check those out. It's at Walking Blind Pod everywhere, at walkingblindpod@gmail.com. Also, fuck, I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? Yeah, you can check out our OnlyFans. No,
Only hands now.
as far as those,
Club website.
what?
It's a Fight Club website.
Only hands.
Yeah.
I heard it, but I didn't. I was in my train of thought was just somewhere else. Yeah, at Walking Blind Pod everywhere. Thank you guys so much for listening. We love you guys. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.